So we all know dragons are ferocious and independent beasts who don't take any nonsense from anyone except from the gods. Surprisingly, even the chromatic dragons will follow the Queen of Darkness, answering her call to arms and fight in her name, except for some. These dragons are known as the Orthlorx, that translates directly as the uninvolved, as they chose to stay out of the wars of Krynn and remain behind in Taladas in peace. Greetings and welcome back to my channel, guys. How are you doing today? So in this video, we're going to talk about the dragons of Taladas. Surprisingly, these dragons did not want to have anything to do with the War of the Lance, the Dark Queen, infighting. They wanted nothing to do with that. Both chromatic and metallic dragons just decided to stay out of it, stay in Taladas and do their own thing, and for that, they got punished. So let's dive deep into the different types of the Othlorx. Now when Taladas, or Erstren, as she is known in Taladas, releases all the evil dragons into Krynn, she expected the chromatic dragons of Taladas to come and fight on her side. But true to their nature, not all heeded her summons. Many saw no personal gain in entering the War of the Lance and refused to join the dragon armies, infuriating Taladas, so she cursed these dragons, causing them to become the first Othlorx. On the other hand, the metallic dragons, who swore the oath of neutrality, trying to protect their eggs that were stolen by the evil dragons, and thus did not enter the War of the Lance at the beginning. Some of them went out in search for their eggs, arriving at the shores of Taladas. And when Gilthanas and Silvara came back and informed them that their eggs were used to create the Draconians and help save the eggs from the evil dragons, most of the metallic dragons joined the war to fight the forces of evil and turn the tide of battle. Yet some of the metallic dragons who journeyed all the way to Taladas felt no desire to return to Ansalon and fight in the war, and they became the first metallic Orthlorx. The Othlorx dragons were punished, the metallics were punished by their peers, and the chromatics by their gods. The brass dragons, they just didn't feel the need to enter the war, and due to this they were shunned by the normal metallic dragons, and now they crave companionship and often will stalk intelligent creatures just to have a conversation. They commonly converse with the Ujin, who are barbarians horse-riding humans, until their destruction in the year 424 AC. And now the brass Orthlorx are more commonly seen in the company of the Elven nation in the Dreaming Green. The bronze Othlorx are the dragons that didn't enter the war only because they never heard of the news. They are isolationists and fairly ignorant of what is happening in the world around them. Even though they are isolationists, they still keep a watchful eye, waiting for the impending invasion of Taladas that they are certain that Taladas will launch one day. And the copper dragons, on the other hand, refuse to enter the war out of their sheer pure stubbornness. They refused to fight in a war they felt they didn't belong in. Many copper Orthlorx were indifferent to other folk and even other dragons. However, a small few of these dragons banded together with humans and elves in the southern host to form the Dragon Knights, whom we will do a video about later on because I think they are super cool. The silver dragons were those dragons who felt they were incapable of leaving the mortals of Taladas unprotected, and refused to enter the war on the faraway continent of Ansalon. The dragons became wrecked with guilt over refusing to answer Paladin's call to war, and due to this have become even more rigid and set along the path of good. They respond to any evil act as deserving of instant execution, and often travel the lands of Taladas in mortal form to ferret out evil in every corner. They will protect the forces of good by any means necessary. The problem is, the way they see the world and the way us mere mortals do doesn't always correlate. Now, there are no gold Orthlorx dragons. as the Gaul dragons are far too dedicated to Paladin to ever refuse his summons. There are a few Gaul dragons on Taladas though, and their life's mission is to take care of their metallic Orthlorx brothers and do their best to protect them from harm. There is one exception for this rule, and that's Amanthos, who initially refused the summon to join the war, but he did later on. Now the chromatic dragons on the other hand were cursed by Takhisis for not joining the war. This changed their behavior, in some cases making their personalities far more aggressive, and in other cases removing parts of their personality. The black dragons became isolationist and arrogant dragons that are aggressive to the point of attacking almost anything on sight. But on the flip side, occasionally they can be friendly and cordial to visitors. Their frame of mind is unpredictable at best. Yet they were known in the past to make alliances with powerful evil creatures like Maladar and Desh. The blue dragons, who are the fewest type of chromatic dragon Orthlorx. This is because the blue dragons are inherently the most loyal type of chromatic dragons, and they usually do not defy Takhisis. A small few, however, found loopholes or old pacts that enabled them to stay on Taladas, and they were cursed by their goddess for doing so. The dragons are forced to honor any promise they give, and due to this, they mostly keep to themselves. They openly blame humans for their situation, and will often attack any encounter on sight. But a number of blue Othlorx did manage to redeem themselves, and had their curse removed by fighting against chaos in the name of Queen Takhisis. The green dragons, on the other hand, preferred not to join the war just because they liked their forests and groves, and didn't really want to leave them to fly all the way over to Ansalon. Takhisis cursed them to be bound to their homes, and to grow into a maddened state whenever an intruder enters their lair. Now because of this, the green Orthodox are becoming fewer and fewer as they are unable to mate or even travel beyond their realm to other green Orthodox. The red Orthlorx are the dragons that chose to try and dominate Taladas for themselves, not for their queen, rather than enter the War of the Lance. In retaliation, Takhisis stripped these dragons from their confidence, turning the proud and powerful red dragons into cowardly creatures. And many of these red dragons were wiped out during the Godless Night. That is the period between the Chaos War and the Second Cataclysm to the return of the gods. These dragons were far too fearful to fight back against the forces of chaos, and thus almost went extinct. Now the only dragons that outright refused Takhisis and did not want to join the war were the white Orthlorx, telling Takhisis directly that they would not answer her call. So in retaliation, she stripped these dragons of any true intelligence, even removing their ability to communicate with other creatures. She left the white Orthlorx with the understanding of what they once were, turning them into vicious, brutal killers. But during the Godless Night, the dragon overlord Goliath became aware of the white Orthlorx, and he hoped to turn them into his private army. So the White Overlord used tremendous powers from his skull totem, not only to restore their intelligence, but to increase it beyond what it originally was. And now, the White Orthlorx are some of the most dangerous and cunning of all the dragons of Taladas. So thank you for staying with me until the end, guys. I hope you found this video entertaining and interesting, and we will see you in the next one. Have a lovely day.